10분?
10초요, 10초.
아, 오케이.
머리. 엉켰니? 응, 엉켰어. 그렇구나. 이거 혹시 복숭아 냄새 나? 왜? 복숭아 냄새.
일단 플레이는 됐거든요. 준비 시간은
아, 마스크 벗고.
쓰고 싶어?
네?
벗고 싶어.
벗고. 아, 마스크 벗는 게 너무 어지. Hello, my name is Cesar and I will tell you about Prince Caspian. First, I'll tell you about chapter 1. Peter, Susan, and Edmund Lucy were sitting on the train station because the vacation is over, so they have to go to the school. 1 year ago, they went to the school. They went to the doctor's house. In doctor's house, there were one wardrobe, and they entered the one wardrobe. And in the wardrobe, there was another ward. The ward's name was Narnia, and in Narnia, there was not just citizens, there were kings and queens, and Peter was the high king. But when they came back to the England, they weren't kings and queens anymore. They are just students, and vacation is over, so they have to go to the school. And they will take on a train, and they will take on a train, and they arrive to school. After a few minutes, one train will arrive, and it takes 2 girls to first school. And after 30 minutes, another train will arrive, and then the train will take 2 boys to their school. And in the school, they have to learn math and Latins. They don't like them, but because they're students, so they have to learn them. And they're waiting this train. Suddenly, Lucy thinks someone pinched her, and Peter thinks Edmund is pulling him. Because Lucy and Peter, they all wake up, and the train, the station, the luggage, and the seats all disappeared, and all things are disappeared. They are in the one ocean. The ocean was Narnia's ocean, and they were so glad to come back to Narnia. And they wanted to play, so they played in the ocean. And after play, they were so hungry and thirsty, so they had to eat and drink some things. So they decided to eat Peter and Edmund's sandwiches because they were so hungry. And Susan and Lucy also have their sandwiches, but theirs are in the station, so they couldn't eat them. And after eating sandwiches, they felt thirsty, so they had to find a stream. And Lucy found a stream, and they drank many water. And after drink water, they all full, and they can look around the Narnia. And looking around the place that they're standing, they can notice the place is island. And I will tell you about chapter 2. For the night, they have to collect branches. they need fire, so they need branches. And collecting branches, they can find many old places. For example, many stairs and like terrace, and the place looks like ruins. So there were many daisies and grasses, and collecting branches. They also can find old stone door. Edmund and Peter opened it, and after it there were another door, and another door made by wood. So the wood door was very old, so they can break it easily. And after they broke it, they can many treasures, because the wooden door was treasure house's door, and they can find many treasures. For example, diamonds, rubies, gold rings, and necklaces. But important is Santa's present. In the 1 years ago, they met Santa, and Santa gave them presents. But Edmund didn't meet Santa, so he had any presents. But 1 year ago, he was a king, so he had many armors and presents. And I will tell you about Peter, Susan, and Lucy's presents. First, Peter had his armor and sword and shield. The sword name was Rindon, and he killed White Witch and White Witch's wolf. And I'll tell you about Susan's present. Susan had a bow and many arrows, and the important is a magic horn, but the magic horn wasn't there. Maybe Susan lost it, and Susan and others were so disappointed, because the horn was magical, so if anyone blow it, they can have get help to anyone. And I will finally tell you about Lucy's present. Lucy had a little sword and a magic wicked medicine. It was a magic medicine, so one drop of magic medicine, it can cure anything. And Lucy was so glad to find it, and others also were so glad. And I will tell you about chapter 3. Next day, they ate breakfast, and looking around the island, and they can notice England's time stream and Narnia's time stream are different. For example, England's 1 year is the same with Narnia's 100 years. So Lucy thinks all Narnia people will so glad to see us. And they hide because they found 2 Talmarine soldiers. 2 Talmarine soldiers are with 1 dwarf, and they're trying to kill 1 dwarf. And Susan shoots her arrow, and 1 soldier died by Susan, and another soldier was so afraid of Susan's arrow, so he ran away. and Peter and Edmund saved the dwarf, and the dwarf said thank you to Pegasus. And I will tell you about dwarf's character. The dwarf was so short because he was a dwarf, and he has a very long red beard, and it was Caspian, the test boy, and he was going to kill Parabel, and he had to find Aslan or 4 loyal children, and he met 4 loyal children. So he was so glad, and he started to talk about Caspian the 10th. Caspian was the 10th had to be a king of Narnia, but he isn't because of his uncle Miraz. Miraz is the Narnia's king now, and he got out a thorn from Caspian. And all Narnia people hate Miraz because he's a tamarind. Caspian also tamarind too, but Caspian loves Narnia, but Miraz doesn't like Narnia and talking animals. And I will tell you about chapter 4. Caspian lost his mother and father early, so he had a good nurse to him, and the old nurse take care of Caspian, and Caspian also loved old nurse. Old nurse was like mother, and Caspian liked old Narnia's story. For example, like fawns, minotaurs, centaurs, and talking animals, and long ago there were very beautiful nature, and Caspian loved the story, and he wanted to hear the story every day. And one day Caspian were walking with his uncle Miraz, and he can and he talked about old Narnia, like fawns, centaurs, minotaurs, and talking animals. But Miraz didn't like that, and he said to the nurse, "Get out from here." And Caspian heard new tutor will come, and next day Caspian can see his new tutor. The tutor's name was Dr. Cornelius, and he will teach Caspian, and he was very short and very fat, but he was very wise and very kind. So Caspian liked him, didn't hate him, and Dr. Cornelius told many things to Caspian, story or history. Caspian's favorite class was story lesson and history. In history class, he can learn about Talmar and Narnia, and in the third lesson, he can Tarba and Alambil. And the lesson was so very funny, and Caspian liked that. And I will tell you about chapter 5. One day, Caspian was sleeping like other days, and one character entered his room and put his hand on Caspian's mouth. And Caspian was so surprised, but he noticed the character is his tutor, Dr. Cornelius. As he relaxed, and he was so sleepy, and he didn't know anything, so he wanted to sleep again. And he said to Dr. Cornelius 5 more minutes, but Cornelius wake up Caspian, and he said, hurry up, you must run away. And Caspian didn't know anything, so he asked to Dr. Cornelius, and Dr. Cornelius explained about the situation. Caspian's aunt, that Mera's wife, has given birth to a son. If Mera's wife have given birth to a son, Caspian will die by Mera's. So he have to leave, so he have to run away. And he have to bring some things, for example, meats and apples and some good wine. And he had to protect himself, so he had to bring his armor and sword and shield. And he wanted to go with Dr. Cornelius, but Dr. Cornelius disagreed because Mera's army will easy to catch one than two. So Caspian had to run away alone, and he was so quickly running away, and he couldn't see what in front of him. So he knelt down in that place, and after he wake up, he didn't in the wood. He was in the forest. He was in one house, and in one house there were two dwarfs and one badger. Black dwarf's name was Nicarik, and red dwarf's name was Trumpkin, and the badger's name was Truffle Hunter. Truffle Hunter was oldest of three and very kind, and they're debating about Caspian, kill or not. Nicarik said we have to kill him because Caspian is a tamarine. All Naria people hate tamarines because tamarines attacked Ulnaria people, but Truffle Hunter and Trumpkin disagreed because Caspian is just a boy and he's not a tamarine soldier. So they decided to don't kill Caspian, and Truffle Hunter promised to Caspian, I will show my friends. That means he can see all Narnia people, and he was so glad. And I will tell you about chapter 6. Next day, he wake up and he started to go to the deep woods. And first, he met three Virgin bears. They were living in the oak tree and they were sleeping, so Truffle Hunter couldn't wake him up easily. So first, Truffle Hunter knocked the door 3 times and they didn't came out from their house, so Truffle Hunter had to knock the door 3 times again, and the 3 Virgin bears came out from their house, and they were so sleepy, so they couldn't understand easily. But Truffle Hunter explained hardly, so they can understand. And they welcomed Caspian and gave some honey to him. And second, Caspian met the squirrels. Truffle Hunter called Peregrine, and one red beautiful squirrel came out one tree, and he was so beautiful, but he talked very much. So Truffle Hunter not too easy to explain about Caspian, and finally Truffle Hunter explained about Caspian, and he welcomed Caspian and he gave some nuts to him, and finally Caspian met 7 red dwarfs of shuddering wood, and they met 7 dwarfs, and first they didn't like Caspian because Caspian is tamarind, and all Narnia people don't like tamarins. But Truffle Hunter explained hardly, and they can understand. And they gave Caspian handmade armor and sword shield. It was very nice, and Caspian liked that. And I will tell you about the council. At night, the council is gathered, and they start to debate about tamarins. The time is up, so they have to have a war. And everyone agreed, and one of the senators started to talk about the time. Talk about the Lord of Victory, and Lambiel, the Lady of Peace, met in the high sky, and that means good things. And that is, the Son of Adam will save Narnia. And they over debate, and they start to have a festival. Everyone danced, everyone jumped, and everyone sang, but only Nikabri didn't jump, didn't dance, didn't sing. He was sitting on the ground alone. And I will tell you about chapter 6. Chapter 7. And next day, Dr. Cornelius came to them, and he said the tamarind army is finding Caspian, so they have to run away. So they start to debate where they have to go, and they decided to go of Aslan's house because Tamaris don't like that place, and to Narnians, the place is a so familiar place, and they start to go to Aslan's house, and when they arrive, that time was noon, and they start to fight. They usually fight at noon, but also fight at night too. And Caspian's army usually lose. And they all disappointed, and they were so upset to themselves. And Wimbledon disappointed everyone. Also, the situation made more worse, and doctor advised to Caspian blow the horn. Caspian think there will be more worse situation, but finally Caspian decided to blow the horn after sending two envoys, and there were two places. First place is 4 loyal children appeared first, and it is in the west of Beaver Dam. And second place is Caraparbel, and Caraparbel made by Tamaris to ruin, but there are all the places so they can the envoy can notice that the place is Caraparbel, and they have to decide two envoy. In first place, Peregrine will go there. Caspian also Peregrine also agreed. And the second place, first Caspian wanted to Nicabric go there, but Nicabric didn't want to. So Truffle Hunter said I will go there, but Truffle Hunter or Dr. Cornelius is so slow. So he decided to Truffle Hunter, Trumpkin go there. Trumpkin said himself, and they go to each. And Trumpkin start to go to the Caraparbel, and I will tell you about chapter 8. At morning, he can hear one sound. It was like a magic, but it was like music, and it was like thunder, but it was longer than thunder, and he can notice the sound is a horse sound, and horse sound, and he goes the way, and he met two Tamarin soldiers, and the two Tamarin soldiers are trying to kill the dwarf because the dwarf is Narnia, but 4 loyal children, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy, stayed him, and he can arrive. And when the dwarf saw the four loyal children, he was so glad, but also he was so glad, and also joyful. But he was a little disappointed because the four loyal children were just kids. Caspian and others were expected someone taller, but there weren't. So the four children was upset but also understand, so they had a battle. The first battle was sword. Edmund and Trumpkin had that battle. When that time was yesterday, Edmund couldn't win, but today he is not just this. He became like Edmund King, so he can win in the game. And second battle was sword. I was bow and arrow. In the battle, Susan and Trumpkin had that battle, and in that battle, Susan win, and Trumpkin was so surprised, and he was also so glad. And Lucy found Trumpkin's heart, and she cured the injury, and she was so glad, and she was so glad to cure someone. And after cure Trumpkin, they decided to go another store, and I will tell you about the chapter 9. They arrived to the court, and they had to decide up or down. Lucy and Edmund decided upside, but Susanna, Peter, Trumpkin decided downside, because upside, Lucy's Aslan. Edmund couldn't see Aslan, but he believed Lucy. Last time he didn't believe Lucy. He ended up pretty stupid. So he believed Lucy, but others didn't believe. And so they decided to go downside. Lucy was so sad, but Susanna, Peter, and Trumpkin was older than Lucy, so they had to follow them. And the way was so hard to walk, and but they have to meet Caspian quickly, so they didn't rest, and they almost arrived. They can see the scenery. The scenery was so beautiful, so they looking around the scenery, and one arrow flied to them, and they felt danger, and they ran away. And when they arrived to the court again, the time was night, so they couldn't walk anymore. So they have to sleep, and next day they will go another way. And I will tell you about Chapter 10. Everyone sleep, but Lucy couldn't sleep because she was so glad to see Narnia again. She think I couldn't see Narnia again, but she came back to the Narnia and she heard the sound calling her, and she followed the voice, and there were Aslan. She was so missed him, and she hugged him. And Lucy started to excuse. She saw him, but the others didn't believe her, and she was so afraid to come alone. But Aslan just there Lucy's eye, and Lucy says sorry to him, and I will tell you about chapter 11. Lucy wake up others, and she saw Aslan really, and she explained about what she saw, and others couldn't see him, but Peter believed her, so they started to go to the upside. Lucy only followed Aslan, and others followed only Lucy. And after a few minutes, mother can see Aslan, and they almost arrive. Peter also can see Aslan, and when they arrive, Susan also can see Aslan. And Susan annoyed to Lucy very much, so she said sorry to Lucy, and I will tell you. And he called three people: Peter, Susan, and Trumpkin. First, Aslan called Peter. Peter was so glad, but he was so ashamed because he let other people run away. But Aslan didn't scold him, he just praised him because he did his best. And second, he called Susan, and Susan heard fierce voices, and she had to have a bravery, and Aslan gave a bravery to her. And finally, he called Trumpkin. Trumpkin was so afraid, but he didn't run away. He just in front of him, and he roared to Trumpkin, and he was afraid, but he wanted to be a friend with Trumpkin, so Trumpkin agreed. And Aslan roared again, and the trees are all awake, and they all dance and sing because the lion is returned. And I will tell you about chapter 12. After all dance and sing, they start to go to Caspian. They arrive at Aslan's house. Trumpkin, Peter, and Mother can hear three voices. The three voices were Truffle Hunter, Caspian, and Nicarig. They were fighting about war. Caspian's army had very many casualties from Mira's army. Caspian's army is so weak, so they couldn't win. And he didn't see Aslan, and he didn't see four loyal children, so he didn't believe them. So he wanted a white witch, and he tried to call her. And he called his two friends, one werewolf and one devil, and they tried to make a circle and call a white witch. But at that time, Edmund, Peter, and Trumpkin entered the room, and they all killed Nicabric, the devil, and the werewolf. And finally, Caspian and Peter can meet. Caspian was so glad to see High King. Because Peter came here to help Caspian, and Peter was younger than Caspian, but Caspian didn't ignore him. He just respected Peter because Peter is the High King, and that time was breakfast time, so they have to have a breakfast. There were just they have just some onion and some meat and some cheese and a glass of water. But they were so hungry, so they ate them deliciously. And I will tell you about High King in command. After have breakfast, Peter decided to write a battle application, and he will send that battle application to Miraz, and Peter will fight with Miraz. Caspian wanted to fight himself, but Peter disagreed because Caspian is Mira's nephew, so Miraz will ignore him. So they decided to Peter fight with Miraz, and Edmund, Wimbleweather, and Gladstone sent a battle application to Miraz, and two lords saw that, and they wanted to Miraz fight. So they made Miraz angry. And Miraz angry, so he decided to fight with Peter. He didn't want to ignore the lords. Two lords ignore. So Edmund sent that Miraz answer, and Peter started to go to the battlefield, and also Miraz's army started to go to the battlefield. And when the battle started, Hamadryas, Dryas, and Silvas all arrived, and they are ready for the war. They also Narnians, so they will fight. And in Peter's army, they were deciding the judge, and the judge and one of three Virgin Bear wanted to be a judge, but Trump again disagreed. But finally, one of the Virgin Bear can be a judge, and I will tell you about chapter 14. And the battle started, and they start to fight. First few seconds, it looked like Peter is winning, but after a few seconds, Miraz is start to win because Miraz is adult, but Peter is just kid. So when Miraz uses tall and weight, he can win. But Peter attacked him, and Peter started to win again. And but Miraz attacked Peter again, and Peter started to lose. But finally, Peter win, and he can kill Miraz, but he didn't. Because he's the High King, Animal wanted to Peter kill Miraz, but he didn't. And Edmund respect him, and I will tell you about the war. And the two person entered their own seat, and Miraz knocked over himself, and in the Miraz army they start to say treachery, and the war is start. And Glosel killed his king, the Miraz, and Peter killed Lord Caspian and Lord Glosel, and the two lords and the king died. So all Narnia people start to win, and the Drias, Hamadryas, and Silbas were very strong, so they can win easily, and they run away to Verona Bridge, and if they cross the Verona Bridge, they think we can win, but they didn't. The Verona Bridge wasn't there. It was broken, and so they couldn't win. So they lose, and the old Narnia people were so glad. The bridge was broken by River God. Aslan ordered to River God break it, and River God break it. So Verona Bridge is broken, and Aslan and Susan and Lucy start to go to Caspian. They had to meet Caspian, so they ran away. And on the going way, they met many people. The people were afraid of Aslan and afraid the lion, so they almost people ran away, but one girl didn't run away. She wanted to go with Aslan, and Aslan agreed. And Aslan go one little house, and in the house there were all the little women, and the little woman was very sick, so she think I will die soon, but Aslan said it is not time up, so after drink some good wine, she can healthy again, and she go with Aslan. And when she met Caspian, she was so glad, and Caspian and the old nurse hugged each other because the old woman was Caspian's old nurse. And I will tell you about chapter 15. Aslan made the door on the air. He made the door especially Tamarin's. Tamarin's ancestor is not just Tamarin's. Their ancestor was a sea robber, and they killed people and steal others. And they were living on an island, and they fight usually. And one day, in the island there were a big fight, so six person ran away to the cave because if they didn't run away, they would be die. So when they came out to the cave, they came to the Narnia. The cave was just one of door that can go to another world. So they started to leave the place, and they became Tamarins. And when Narnia confused, they attacked Narnia, and Tamarins can live in the Narnia too, but Aslan will go back them to their ancestor island. There are no person, and there are many trees, so they can eat many things. And there are two person. One person want a new start, and one healthy soldiers go first. And when he threw the door, he disappeared. And people start to confuse. They think Aslan are trying to kill them, but it wasn't. It was just door, and they start to through the door. And another person didn't want to through the door because they love Narnia. They grow like Caspian the 10th, so they wanted to live in Narnia. They love fawns, minotaurs, centaurs, and talking animals, and they have friends in Narnia. So they start Aslan read around, and they start to live in Narnia. And Peter, Susan, Emma, and Lucy also have to through the door. They were kings and queens, but they are old kings and queens. And now Narnia king is Caspian the 10th. He's not a prince anymore. He became a king, and he will lead Narnia people to good way. And Peter and others don't need to live in Narnia. And there are important things. That is, Peter and Susan can come back to Narnia. They were so old and they learn many things to Narnia. So they don't need to learn in Narnia. They have to learn many things in England. And Susan and Edmund and Lucy is not older, and so they can came back to Narnia again. But they can know that time someday they can came back to the Narnia. And Peter gave his sword of Rindon to Caspian. Caspian think Peter will come back, so when Peter returns, so I will give that sword to you. But Peter said, I will not come back. So the Rindon became Caspians, and Susanna and Caspian liked Susanna, and he wanted to become friend with Susanna, but Susanna is 1,300 years older than Caspian, so he can't return to Narnia. So she can be a friend with Caspian, and they started through the door, and when they all through the door, they are in the station, and the train is arrived, and they all take on the train, and then Edmund notice his new torch is in Narnia, and the story is over. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Yerin. I tell about Prince Caspian. First chapter is the island. Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. Susan, Edmund, and Lucy lives in England, and they go to school, and they wait at the train station. Lucy first go to school and very excited, and they train station. Suddenly, moving past everything, and they go to Narnia's beach, and Narnia's beach is Narnia's many trees and soft sand and beach, and no cloud in the sky. They play and they happy, and they thirst, and they find water, and they eat many water. They eat sandwiches. They eat 2 sandwiches, and they find apple tree. They eat apple, and they find something. They find something is ruins. They are in Narnia's, and Narnia's didn't the ruins. They find the ruins. Chapter 2 story is the treasure house. They find ruins, and it is Kelperabel. Kelperabel is stairs is 16, and balcony and treasure house is Kelperoben, and the lion, the witch, and the wardrobe gift. Peter is sword his name is Windon, and Susan's magic horns and a bow and arrow. And Edmund didn't gift because the lion, the witch, and the wardrobe mistake, and he followed the white witch. Lucy's magic medicine and dagger. It is magic, and they find something, and they are try sleeping, and try make a fire, and they find pieces wood and pieces wood, and they sleep. Next day, and they try find something and go outside and find the dwarf. Tamarind soldiers try the dwarf on the boat, and four children saved. Susan's shoot one tamarind soldier heads and boat. Peter saved the dwarf and Edmund's boat. Edmund help. The dwarf is Narnians. The dwarf is Narnians, and four children. The dwarf is listened about Prince Caspian. Chapter 3 story is chapter 4 story is Prince Caspian is young. Caspian uncle is Miraz, and Miraz is Miraz is king, and Caspian aunt is Pruna Prismia. Pruna Prismia is red hair, and Caspian mom and dad lose mom and dad, and Miraz kills Caspian father because Miraz want to king. Caspian many talk about old Narnians. Caspian want to go past, and Caspian like to old Narnians, and Caspian listened about old Narnians, but Prince Caspian talk everything to Miraz. Miraz go away to Nanny, and Caspian's mistake. Caspian's new doctor is Cornelius, Dr. Cornelius, and Dr. Cornelius is the dwarf. Dr. Cornelius helped dwarf, and Dr. Cornelius' mom is black dwarf. He teach many study and talk old Narnia, and talk old Narnia at the on top. Next chapter story is Caspian and Dr. Cornelius many talk and many talk. Next day, next day, and Prunapurismia helpers. Miras strike kill Caspian and Caspian run away. He before run away and he talk many things in the castle. He talk apple and bread. He talk apple and bread and meat, many things. And he go to mountain. He go to mountain and Tamarin soldiers afraid mountain. And Tamarin soldier afraid mountain, but Tamarin finds Caspian. Try find Caspian. So they go to mountain. Caspian is a healing branch and Caspian all over, and the Caspian meets Trumfronter, Trumpkin, and Nikabrik. Nikabrik is black dwarf, Trumpkin is red dwarf, and Trumfronter is old and kind. The next chapter story is the next day Caspian meets Narnians. First to meet Narnians, Birch Bear and Three Birch Bear. Trumfronter knock the door and Birch Bear is got up. And he gives honey. And they meet Petal Twig. Petal Twig is full. Petal Twig is fast. And they another red dwarf now Prince Caspian, and they are dance and they are party, but Nikabrik didn't dance. Nikabrik didn't dance, and he sits and next chapter is and Prince Caspian and Narnians meet Cornelius. Dr. Cornelius is suggest Dr. Cornelius we go to the Aslan Hills because Tamarin soldiers try find Prince Caspian. They afraid mountain. The Aslan Hill in the mountain. They go to Aslan Hill. Wimbleweather is Narnians and giant. Wimbleweather is giant but very foolish. Wimbleweather is Glestrom hurt and Bear is hurt and Caspian Untitled is very hurt. But Tamarin soldier didn't hurt, and Wimbleweather is cheer myself, moving place and step on Foxtail, and they try to. They travel, and next chapter is story is the four children and the dwarf is try find Caspian. The dwarf is like four children and they fight. First fight is with the sword and Edmund wins because Edmund wins, and two fight is Sujan's win. Sujan's first Sujan wins, and the dwarf is hurt, and the dwarf is hurt. Lucy is magic medicine hurt. The dwarf is like the dwarf is like for children because to find parents is win and hurt. And next chapter story is Lucy saw Aslan. They try find Prince Caspian, and they in the mountain. Sujan's want to go outside, and they go to mountain. And Lucy saw Aslan. Another children and the dwarf didn't believe Lucy, and Edmund believed Lucy. Because Edmund believed Lucy. And next day, Lucy see Aslan. Many talk, and Lucy very happy. And many talk, and Lucy very happy. Another children didn't believe Lucy, and Edmund believed Lucy. The dwarf is believe just Peter, and next chapter story is Lucy another children. Finally, another children follow Lucy. And Lucy follow Aslan. Aslan in here, and Edmund Edmund see Aslan and another children see Aslan. The dwarf is another children Aslan. The dwarf is the dwarf is didn't run away and walk to Aslan. And Aslan liked to the dwarf and Aslan liked to the dwarf. The dwarf see one see Aslan and one see a lion, and for children and the lion rose. Trumpkin surprised and for children not surprised because Aslan liked the dwarf. Aslan liked the dwarf, and they dance and sing. They dance and sing. They sing. Almost arrive. They both and they imagine. The next chapter story is they arrive at Aslan house, and Prince Caspian and Peter Edmund meets three boys is Aslan house at Aslan Hill, and Nikabrig called the White Witch. White Witch is the lion. The witch at the rope is villain, and the white Aslan kill White Witch. White Witch Nikabrig call White Witch and hunger and thirsty. Hunger is didn't not 100 years. Hunger is not die, and thirsty is Bloom River, drink Bloom River, and then hunger, and then thirsty not die, and they Trumpkin and Peter Edmonds jump in, and they fight. Edmund is wolf and Peter is White Witch, and Nikabrig die. Caspians think sorry, but Nikabrig is mistake, and Nikabrig die. They eat breakfast. Cornelius and Caspian eat meat. They meet, and Peter and Edmund eat cheese, onions, meat, and they eat breakfast. And next chapter story is Peter challenges to meet us. And Peter challenges to meet us, Peter challenges to meet us, Edmonds Glenstrom and Wimbledon to go to Miraz. Miraz and Lord is light. To Lord fly to Miraz and they left. Miraz is to battle and two Tamarin soldiers and Edmonds battlefield. At the battlefield, a rope and wood. And next George Bear and Bear want to judge and but Trumpkin is hate. But George Bear Battle George is not a bear. Finally, George Bear and George Bear. Next chapter story is Peter and Miraz fight in the battlefield. Peter attacked Sir Miraz's knee and starts blood and Miraz tried to kill Peter, but Caspian is hard because the dwarfs makes and Miraz die because first Miraz fell down, but Miraz didn't stand, and Closer and so Caspian kill Miraz, and they fight. But Lucy meets Aslan, and Aslan awake trees, the wood, and river. The big trees is run to Tamarin soldiers, and Tamarin soldiers run away. Tamarin soldiers run away, and they respite and the Narnians is fight Tamarin soldiers, and Aslan is river awake, and river to kill Tamarin soldiers. Tamarin afraid and wood and water. The 15th chapter story is Aslan makes door in the air, and Narnians win, Caspian and Trump Hunter is soldiers, and Tamarin didn't another left, and they afraid food and water and wood. Aslan makes in the door in makes woods, and they Tamar go to New Island, New Star in there, and four children come back in the England. They goodbye, and Bear and Trophy Hunter hugs and Caspianus want to together John's, but Stan and Peter never come back in Narnians. But Lucy and Edmund can come. Lucy and Edmund can come back in Narnians, and they land in the train stations. And train arrive and they go to school. They to river school, and they go to train. Edmund arrives is new touching in Narnians. Thank you, listened. The end.
Hello, I'm Hongjoa. I'm speaking Narnia for Prince Caspian. First chapter, the four children, they go to the back to school because finish the vacation and they very bored because school is a learn is a lesson and study. So they go to the back to the board. They wait the fast train, and they saw everyone so feel the feeling, and they follow the Narnia forest, and they back to the Annie. They following the forest. They get out the forest is the Narnia beach, and they play the beach, and it's 5 minutes play the beach, and they go to the Narnia beach, and they hungry and thirst. Lucy and find the water and food. They eat the sandwich and apple. Apple tree is very big and many apple trees. Somebody says things. Apple is very sweet smell. This many waters and many apple, many food. They go to the last place, the Carparabel Castle. Carparabel is the roots. Next chapter is the Peter think this is roots in Carparabel, but everyone not believe because
they said caregiver is the for children and for children is very for children is very big and pretty and gold silver the castle, but this is caregiver is loose and old door is the silver and the very dirty, and the very old door come back is door is very old and broken is very easy. Peter and Edmund broken the old door and stairs. Edmund flashlight 1, 2, 3 shout the numbers and they down the stairs and they go to the treasure house. Edmund is not treasure because this is Edmund mistake the treasure Christmas present, and Susan Peter present is the loose. Peter present is sold and shelled. Susan treasure is the arrow, the bow, the horn. Lucy treasure is the diamond border, the medicine. This is medicine is very magic, and so every hurt and die live and they go to the at the Caregiver castle and they rest, and their four children is tired and so sleep the Caregiver rest place. Next chapter is Susan and then Peter talk to the island. They go to the sea and talk to the Edmund talk to the this is Narnia is very old because we are back for children back to the England. So when the 1 year is very short years, but this is Narnia years to the very long and 100 years, and for children don't know is the old Narnia years, and the show to the doors is fruit, and because the river and beach, the stars, the lynches, the rat. Shoot the Susan shoot the arrow because the two tamarins both the low, and shoot the Susan arrow the tamarin soldier. Susan killed the tamarin soldier, and this big pocket is behind the dirt. Dirt name is the Trumpkin. Trumpkin is the very short letter and dirt. So King and Queens is the richest, and they go to the woods to find the tamarind. I find the food, and Peter and Susan further down the Trumpkin. The leaf give it the life, and Lucy the cut Trumpkins the gold, and give it and leave the dirt. Trumpkin is very thank you, and so Trumpkin is very hungry, and for children is hungry eat the apple and fish. Fish is the fishing, and they towed the boats and the shows commands the where's the lead because river is very big and fish is very many. So for children, trafficking is hard to finger, but for children, trafficking don't know because they're very hungry and shut the fingers. And so trafficking so trafficking is the story about the story is the Caspian and next chapter, the Caspian is a very young child, and uncle the walk up the Tamarind Castle. So Caspian said, "I want to go back to the Nanyang." But Mirage and very angry said that this Nanyang story is the baby listening stories, and Caspian is sad and cry, and Mirage the shout the very angry, get out the Caspian teacher and come back to the come new teacher. New teacher name is Dr. Cornelius. Dr. Cornelius is very kind and deaf. And Caspian and Dr. Cornelius are very many lessons for the book, the math, science, and world, the history. But Caspian is very like it the lesson is the Narnia series. And they start lesson. They castle top the lesson because the many people the see stories and Mirage killed the Caspian and teacher Caspian and Dr. Cornelius are very afraid of the top stars, and Dr. Cornelius said the Lambil and Talma, and they said some Caspian is really like the history and Narnia stories. Next chapter, Caspian is running away because Dr. Cornel Mirage killed the Caspian and running away the forest. This is forest is very Tamarind hate the forest and afraid because this is forest the dark forest and owns the ghosts and everything, so lives the Nanyans. And they go Caspian, the Caspian horse is the Australia. They go to the forest, they're running away, and the Australia is very fast. And Caspian broke the woods, and Caspian eat the food, grape juice, meat, and bread, apples. This is food in the Caspian, and they go to so Caspian is eyes the open is a very small house, and the listening the sentence and the words. Caspian is listening. Two Dolphins says we will kill the Caspian, but Trump-Runter is not killed because Caspian is the Tamarind. Tamarinds and the bot, so they like Trump-Runter is the very kind and so different things, so not killed. They meet the Trump to drive center two dwarfs named the Turnpike and Recovery. They go to the Turnpronter. They go to the walk and forest. They very happy to dance and joy and sing. Caspian is very happy and joy and dance. Next chapter is the way Nanyan is hide because the kill Tamarin is to kill the Nanyans and Nanyan is very afraid. Well, the Tamarin is to hate the Nanyans and Mirage is very hate the Nanyans. Caspian is to meet the Nanyans, very different animals than human. First animal is the Petatwig. Petatwig is the square, red square. Petatwig gives the nuts. Then Caspian, meet the bear, and bear is the very big and huge. Give us the honey, then Caspian, and so 11 many dwarfs. Many dwarf is to make the soldier and the shield. So many the wall were ready, and so Caspian is gives the shield and soldier. They go to the talk to the Randins. The next chapter, Caspian is many Nanyans, the council. Council is the terrorist. What is the word? The terrorist. They is now and this back and is so late the time, and so many Nanyans say that with this magic horn is the balloon now. Because Caspian thinks is now not the balloon, the horn, and says the legends for the Caspian, and they go to find the four king and queens, and they go to the lakes, the surface, the lakes. They go to the when animals. This is the Petatwig. Petatwig is very fast and small. It's not in your eyes. Next chapter is Lucy. Next chapter for children and Turnpike, they go to the river. The river though is very big and so fast water. They don't like this is river. They back to the barrel now because Lucy shout and Lucy shout is the boast. See the Aslan and say the very Aslan because for their children and Turnpike is not believe, and so they back to the is river then, and Lucy said and very angry. Lucy follow the Peter and first three children Turnpike. Next chapter is back to the lion. Back to the lion is Aslan is they see the Aslan, but Lucy is believe. But three children Turnpike not believe, and Aslan said Lucy is the ghost the mission. This is mission is the your brother and sister come me and the Turnpike too. Miss Lucy's understanding that Lucy's go to get out to the Edmund. Edmunds wake up and they go to the sea. But Edmund is not understanding, but Lucy follow the Lucy. They go to the Aslan, but Edmund and not see the Aslan, and Lucy see the Aslan, so we're not understanding. Next chapter is the next chapter, and so Aslan is the for Aslan is Aslan is met with the four children and trafficking. They go to the woods and the forest. They sit down to the rivers, and so Aslan is very big shout the trafficking and four children. Four children is very afraid because as Aslan is very king, Narnia's leader, and the trafficking is not believable. Eyes the scenes to me and says that so very big dog very happy. And for children, next chapter, Nikabrik and Caspian and many Narnias. The consists the Aslan's here, Aslan's low hill, and they console the what is it? Is it? Nikabrik is the called the White Witch because Nikabrik believed the White Witch and not believe and not late the Aslan. And Caspian is very wanted, not wanted, and Caspian is not vengeance. Caspian not believe, and they says go to the meet the Peter and Edmund, Lucy, Susan, trafficking. They eat the morning and they eat breakfast and very not delicious because this food is very cool and not hot. But these four children and the trafficking is the Peter is hungry and they're very fast the food. And so Caspian and trafficking talk to the Narnians and talk to the Narnians. And next chapter is the next chapter. They first. Peter is for the word they said. Peter is say the conceal the Narnians and Peter, and so for children and Peter. Peter said one battles, mirage battles. But Caspian is wants the battle, but wants the battles, but Caspian is hurt and is Mirage's uncle's the real left, and so Peter is going to battle his Mirage, and Dr. Cornelius writing the Caspian and Peter said, Mirage is Edmund in Leicester and nurse and go to the Mirage. Go to Mirage to say the hiking Peter is the when the one battle is you and come. Mirage is escape but not exactly. And shoot the born is the soul to be safe. Now, first Peter and Mirage the battle and ready. So Edmund is a cheer the Peter, and so your Edmund is a brother. Peter is very chill, and stay lunch is at 12 o'clock, and battle ready. Battle is 2 o'clock, and they go to and next chapter. Next chapter is the very busy. Peter and Edmund get out the Aslan Hill. Mirage meet the Mirage the battles ready. They go to the battle is under station, and they back is they battle is Miraz. The Peter is very young and Miraz is stronger. Is not two human is not die. And wins the Nanyas. Nanyas the Peter, but not die is Miraz, but Lord Caspian and the General Gladiator the schedule and kill the Miraz. And Nanyas and Tamarins the words to start. And they the very fighting the Nanyas and Tamarin. They die and to finish the war, the Aslan come back. Ripichiv is cut the tail, and this Aslan the new tails to give. And they go to the four children in Caspian. Prince Caspian is next king, and this Prince Caspian for children Trampukin and many Nanyas and Lipichip the bear. Dwarfs go to the Aslan. Aslan says the war is finished, but Nanyan is win because the river lord is to come back, and the West Tamarins soldiers and finish the war. Next chapter is last chapter, and they go to the Aslan. So Aslan makes the door in air. Aslan is make a door in air, and one scholar is the student is for many student and teacher. One student is follow the city Aslan, but teacher is very angry. But Aslan is say the teacher, and many children are running away because but one student not running away, and this student is not running away and go together is Nanya, and this one was very sad because there's one woman is very sad. Woman and one child very sad because this woman is very hurt and so very not stronger, and so Aslan is the medicine is the woman is very stronger and very happy, but as Caspian is very happy because this is woman is Caspian order the teacher and this is woman, and Caspian hugs very happy. So back to England, and they four children and back to the England, and so Edmund is flashlight is the Narnia wisdom, and Edmund is wanted the back to the Narnia, and so four children is back to the England. So Edmund is lose the flashlight because the Nanyang is to wear the flashlight. The end. Thank you.
왜 그러는데? 아니 재밌는 거 썼어. 뭐를 재밌는데? 현장에서 응원한다고 적었어.
끝났어?
네.
네.
뭐야?
재진아 생각
않니? 괜찮아. 3분 했어? 너 심각하게 많이 안 했는데.